If you're tired of bad news, if you need some positivity, if you want to support small businesses, then welcome to Happy, Grateful, Blessed with Kaysville's own mayor, Tammy Tran.
Hello, everybody. This is Tammy. I'm here with Tawnee McCay. Tawnee, thanks for being my guest.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Well, I've really enjoyed the opportunity I've had to get to know you as a board members on the Utah League of Cities and Towns. As a board member, you've been so thoughtful and so detailed in the questions that you ask when we've talked about budgets and different events. And I just have really appreciated your thoughtful, really strong input.
Yes, thank you.
And so I'm very excited that you're running for mayor.
Yes, thank you so much. And I love serving on the board for the Utah League. And I think that one important aspect that I have brought is just understanding how the member city membership rates are set. Mm-hmm. And I know at first it was based a lot on population growth, and we were able to change that a little bit more to be based on sales tax revenue. Because smart. Even if a city is growing, if their tax base isn't, it makes it really hard to pay those membership fees.
And I really like the experience that you bring with your financial background. Mm-hmm. To ask those types of questions.
Yeah.
Because, everyone has a way of doing things, mm-hmm. and it's always kind of the same way. Mm-hmm. And it's really great to be able to look at things differently.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. My background is in finance. I have an MBA from Utah State. And I think that is, one thing that has really helped me on the city council. We manage a $71 million budget. And every year I go through every line of the budget and really try and make sure that, if we are adding additional employees, where that money's coming from to keep our city ran fiscally conservatively.
As we are in budget season, mm-hmm. well, some of us are still in budget season if we're doing truth and taxation. Those are really good questions to ask. We have staff that says, hey, we need help. Mm-hmm. And as a council, sometimes I've seen councils just say, no, you don't. And that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if they do or not. But how do you make those decisions, and how do you find revenue streams to support new staff?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in Riverton, our city manager meets with all of the department heads and accepts their requests for the budget. And he formulates a budget, and then our mayor formulates his own budget. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the council, we have a couple of lines that show the last few years' budget, how much has actually been spent this year, and then the city manager's budget and the mayor's budget, and then the council weighs in and comes up with our own budget that we end up approving. And so one thing that I have been able to do since I've been on the council is we have been really blessed and lucky as a city. We had a church farm that ended up selling, and it ended up becoming a great shopping center. It's called Mountain View Village.
Incredible.
Yes.
Incredible, you guys.
And it really helped our city sales tax revenue. In addition, there's a Costco up there.
Which is also amazing. Yes. We're so jealous.
Yeah. And so when we had the increase in sales tax revenue, at first the city was just spending the money. But I talked to the rest of the council and said, hey, we have to be wise with this money. And so I was able to build consensus to take half of the increase and put it toward the city's debt. And so we've been doing that the last 3 years, and we've been able to pay off 3 of the 6 bonds that the city owes, which saves our city tens of thousands in interest.
That's huge to be able to pay those off early.
It really is. And our debt per capita is the lowest it's been in 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Tawnee, that's outstanding.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason I want to run for mayor is we have this momentum, mm-hmm. and I want to keep our city ran fiscally really well. And that is a major responsibility of the mayor and the council is deciding how those funds are spent.
Well, and I think as a mayor, that is the most important, mm-hmm. and the council responsibility. Yeah. And you're right, we hear about new projects and think, okay, and that money is spent in our heads, mm-hmm. Departments and staff because they have a use for it.
Yeah.
Before it's even there.
Yeah.
And so you being able to say, okay, let's look at this a little bit differently is mm-hmm. really smart.
Yeah.
How did your staff receive that information? Was that a hard sell or?
The staff took it well, and I think that they see the wisdom of it. And, we were able to pay off the water tank and some of these projects. And Riverton is in a good position because of wise planning earlier. We have a lot of the infrastructure for through, right
That's
now the
good.
city's at about 47,000, and at build out we should be at about 55 in population. But we have the infrastructure and the water, and our streets are well maintained, and so we've done a good job planning for when the city is at
And your
build out.
infrastructure is fairly newish.
Mhm.
See, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And then so our struggle with older cities is the infrastructure is so old.
Yeah.
And they're, at least in West, so Kaysville is divided by I-15. So we refer to it as West and East Kaysville, even though it's one city. And so in West Kaysville, it was determined years ago that it would be half-acre lots. And so the sewer district and the other utilities were designed around half-acre lots. Well, now people aren't really wanting half-acre lots necessarily. They want a little bit more density or smaller homes. And it's really hard because we don't have the infrastructure in place. And our infrastructure that we have is so old.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be able to convince everyone that we need to spend money to replace it.
Yeah.
But that's our job,
Yeah.
right? To be responsible and upfront and forward-thinking.
Yeah, that's really true. And, in Riverton, we have a lot of kids come to our city hall and do field trips. And I love meeting with them. And it's kind of fun because I try to explain to them in simple terms what the city's responsibilities are. And sometimes I'll refer to it as the hierarchy of needs. And one of the city's main responsibilities is public safety. I feel like keeping our residents safe. When you call an ambulance or, the fire truck, you expect them to show up. And we want to live in a safe community. And above that is making sure we have clean water and our utilities and things like that are provided for our residents. And above that, we need to maintain our streets and that infrastructure. We need our water lines to be safe and secure. And, at the top is some of the community events, which are really awesome and make it feel like a community and kind of keep that hometown feel. It's kind of fun when the groups come through. Sometimes I tell the kids, I've been trying to think of a fun way to explain to them all the services that their city offers. And so I tell the kids, okay, I'm going to tell you a story, but not all of it is true. So you have to raise your hand if you think that I'm trying to trick you. And so I'll tell them about a little kid, maybe James, that jumps up in the morning on Saturday. He's so excited to go to his baseball game and he knows he needs to go brush his teeth. And so he turns on the water and brown water comes out and it's really dirty. And the kids are like, no, that doesn't happen in Riverton. We have clean water. And I'm like, you're right. And did you know we have a water department that goes out and checks our city's water? Yeah. And then I tell them that no, that wasn't true. You guys are right. We have clean water. And then James ran downstairs and his mom said, hey, take out the trash. And so he took it and he threw it on a big pile in the middle of their cul-de-sac. And there was gross water draining from the pile and rats. And they're like, no, that's not right, And I explained to him that we have a sanitation department that picks up the trash. And, I have been in countries where you see big piles of trash, but not in Riverton. Our staff does a great job. And then as he's driving down the road, I say that their car fell into a big,
a big hole in
the road, their whole car. And the kids are like, no, that doesn't happen. And so I explained to them about our streets department. And then when he gets to the soccer field, I say he gets out and the grass is so high that he can't even find his soccer ball. And the kids say, no, that's not the case. And so it's kind of a fun way to explain to the kids, all of the ways that they interact with the city on a daily basis. And even, if they found a dog that they didn't know who it belonged to, they could call animal control. If they have an emergency, they can call our police or fire department. Yeah. Speaking of fire departments, Kaysville is...
Aren't we funny?
They have a classic, social media presence. I love
aren't
reading
they outstanding?
They're
so funny. Their most recent post, since you're talking about was, hey, you guys, it's really hot outside. We'd really appreciate it if the police posted, please don't commit crimes. It's 110 degrees. And it was funny. And then the fire department kind of parried off of that and said, and please don't start fires because it's really hot. And it was just, they're so fun.
Yeah. And
educational but funny. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They are great. I love that story. So we do lunch with the mayor. Do you guys do that?
Not currently.
Okay,
but that's something I would love to start.
It's really fun. I do it every quarter. We have 11 elementary schools in Kaysville. And so a child from each grade. And I ask the teachers, please don't choose the shining stars. Just choose someone that needs to, have a good day.
Yeah.
And so they come in and I'm going to start telling a story like that.
Yeah.
That's a great way to explain our utilities and our services.
Yeah. All that the
because
city
that's
does for
so
people.
Relatable for them. Fantastic. Well, so I was reading also and know about this about you. So you say on your website something about keeping police local. Were you guys thinking about districting or outsourcing police support?
Yeah. So we used to partner with a county-wide agency, and we decided to self-provide our police department, and I had the deciding vote in order to do that. And it has saved $30 million for our city.
That's incredible.
In self-providing.
Really?
Yeah. And I feel like it's great to have the officers that stay within our community. They get to know us. You know, we have certain ones that go out and do the DARE programs. We have school resource officers in all of our middle schools and high schools.
Right.
And I feel like it's just more of a community-oriented policing. This year, we are adding 2 officers that will help, especially with a lot of traffic and things like that. As
people like hearing that, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. With growth, those things, come along. But our police and fire do a fantastic job. We really
it's interesting. You're able to save $30 million over, I'm sure, year over year.
Yes.
By not going to another organization to provide outsourced support.
Yes. Yeah.
And that included standing up your own department?
Yes.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then we contract for our fire with Unified Fire Authority, and they do a great job.
Okay.
But we have our own tax service district. And so one thing that makes Riverton unique is a lot of cities will charge a general property tax. And in Riverton, we have a service district for our police, and 100% of those funds go to our police department. And then we have a service district for our fire, and all those funds go to UFA. And then we have all of the other fees. The city doesn't have any other property tax. The rest is in fees. And we try and keep those fees as close to the actual cost as possible.
Okay.
So, for example, our sanitation costs just went up. And so we did have to increase by a couple dollars our garbage fee, but we want it to be, as close as possible to what the actual fees are, including street lights and water and those type of things. And so we just received an award from the Utah Taxpayers Association for being so transparent in our fees and then having those service districts for our
That's
police
really
and fire.
smart. How long have you had? So police has a separate, and then fire has a separate.
Yes.
And those are, do you have to hold truth and taxation hearings on those districts?
If we have an increase, we would.
Increase. Okay. And so that's collected outside of general sales from property tax?
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So other than those 2, we don't have a property tax.
Oh, you don't have a property tax?
Yep. Other than those 2. Yeah.
Really?
The rest of it is in city fees.
So how does that work? So you don't get anything from the county for property tax?
Not like based on their property.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a UFA that goes to fire and then the police, and 100% of those that are collected go to those. And then the rest is in our fees.
So where does the money for your general fund come from for staff?
Sales tax. And some of those fees. And so like if someone is using water, then some of those water are expense to our water department.
Okay.
Or to our streets department. And so that's how the money gets paid for those things.
Really? So people in Riverton don't pay property tax?
Other than for
the
police
city.
and fire. Yes.
Okay. So 100% of whatever you would be assessed as a property tax goes to fund those 2 accounts.
Yes.
Okay. I think I understand.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So it's kind of unique, I think.
That is really unique.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is also very transparent. If somebody says, hey, why is this property tax so much? Then we can show them the police budget and say, this is where the money's going.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know that you have received awards for being so transparent and fiscally responsible, and it's great. And the growth that you've had has been great. It's been very much intentionally planned.
Yeah.
I know going out to get some commercial businesses to be attracted to Riverton was a very conscious effort on the part of you and the council and the city.
Yeah.
And so I think that's fantastic. In terms of moving forward, when you look at, what you'd like to accomplish, what are some of the big things that you're looking forward to doing?
Yeah. Well, one of my board assignments is I sit on the TRCC County Board. I'm the vice chair, and TRCC stands for Tourism, Recreation, Culture, and Convention. And that board, we have people, nonprofits, cities, and different organizations come to the TRAC board to ask for funding. Last year, we were able to distribute around $10 million.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's gone to things like Bluffdale updated their rodeo grounds and got some new bleacher chairs. Harriman has got money for paths and trails and parks. Riverton City, we recently completed a park right behind our city hall where there's a small amphitheater. We updated our park. We were also able to update our Sandra Lloyd Center where it's a performing arts and the stage is a lot better, and we were able to make some sound improvements. And I know Draper has got funds. South Jordan has got funds for their horse, their
equestrian
properties.
centers.
And it's been an awesome committee to sit on. Before I joined it, Riverton, Bluffdale, and Harriman had never received funds from the track board.
Really?
And so as part of my, serving on the board, I'm not just trying to help Riverton, but I've been communicating with Draper and South Jordan and Harriman and Bluffdale and saying, hey, this is when the applications are due. They're having a training on how to submit a complete and a good application, because I've been trying to get some of those county funds to the southwest part of the valley. And we've been successful in that. And that's a board that I really enjoy sitting on. And I feel like I've been able to make an impact for our area.
Oh, absolutely, as you represent. So is that kind of in place of a ramp tax, recreation, arts, museums, parks type tax?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's distributed at the county level then re-shared or reallocated out? Okay. Because in Davis County, we have individual cities that have variations of the ramp tax. And so we keep it, but it's a lot less money.
Yeah.
And so I can see how maybe on a county level you have more to work with.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And there was a little bit of a buildup after COVID just because, a lot of the county rec things weren't open. And so, but that's been a really impactful board that I've been able to sit on.
Well, and talk about some of the other boards, because I know, some people will ask, well, what do you do with city council members? And really, people really just think that aren't aware and wouldn't know better that you go to a meeting twice a month. Yeah. And that's it.
It's true.
That's not true.
Yeah. There's a lot of other responsibilities that we serve on. So I loved serving on the Utah League of Cities and Towns board. It was so great to get to know other mayors and council members and rub shoulders with them and to learn how they're managing their cities and what successes they have. In addition, right now I sit on the Jordan River Trail Commission.
Great.
And that's great because our eastern border is the Jordan River. And my first couple of years living in Riverton, we lived more on the west side, west of Bangerter and Mountain View corridor. And our family never walked on the Jordan River. But now that we know about it, our family loves to bike and canoe in the Jordan River.
Oh, really?
And we've got a couple parks along there. And I really love how it feels more like a rural feel. One thing I'd like to do moving forward is we do a survey every other year of our residents. And the last few years, it has come back and said, more pickleball courts, pickleball. That was definitely the number one request. But this last time, it was for more trails and paths.
Oh, okay.
And I think that sometimes we're a little envious of Harriman and all their trails up the canyon, and Draper has so many great trails to ride and your bike and walk on. Riverton, we're kind of landlocked. We've got the Jordan River, but we do have 2 creeks that run east and west through our city and 4 canals that run north and south.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And one thing that I would like to do is to pave some of those creek trails and also the canal trails. Because I know for me personally, instead of walking along a busy road and having cars go by, I much prefer to go out on the trails and the canal roads, and ducks are landing and it's behind people's house and it feels more rural.
That's great.
But right now, if you take your kids out there and they're riding or biking, a lot of times they'll get goat heads.
Oh,
Those
are hard.
Or there'll be large ruts in the road. And so if a mom was jogging with her, with a stroller, it really makes it hard.
For sure.
And so, but once Riverton designates some money for this, whether it's $100,000 or $500,000, then we can use that to get matching funds. Because right now in the state, there's a lot of active transportation funds, both the state and the county. And so if we are able to prioritize that as a city, then we can, get more of those paved. And I think our residents will really appreciate that. But it also involves some of the intersection of those canals, making sure that we have crossing or that the kids can push a button and have it flash so that they can safely cross the street.
That's true. That's huge.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, up here in Davis County, we love to be outside. And the connections are so important to be able to be safe and be able to cross and access trails and And I didn't realize you had so many waterways. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is.
That's great.
All of Riverton has secondary water, and that really helps our residents save money,
For sure.
when they're watering their grass and things like that. So it's great. One other thing that I really love about Riverton is we are a really service-oriented community. Our high school, they do a silver rush, and they, have been collecting over 100,000 every Christmas time, and they go door to door.
Dollars?
Yes.
Really?
All throughout Riverton, and they do what they call odd jobs. And so I've had them come in my house. Maybe it's, 8 to 10 high schoolers, and they'll come in and they've wrapped presents for me. They've hung up Christmas lights.
Oh, I love
Sometimes
this.
they even have something. We knew one of the boys, and he said, for $100, if one of the girls willing, I mean, I'll kiss any of it.
Oh, really? That's cute.
So he ended up kissing one of them on the cheek, and we
for
made a
$100?
donation.
Okay, that's great.
And so, but it's awesome because the high school students, the SBOs, they get to choose which nonprofit they would like to contribute to.
Okay.
And so it really gets the kids involved, and they get excited about it. And in Riverton, we also have a food pantry that I love to volunteer at and go and help at. And so there's a lot of opportunities. The people in Riverton are great and are very service-minded.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money also.
I know.
To raise.
It really
and
is.
They do it every year?
Yeah, every Christmas.
Oh, that's fantastic because we've got so many youth that are so willing and so excited to help out. And that's neat that they're able to go do something.
Yeah. We also have a fantastic youth council. We have over 50 kids, and we just recently had our town days over the 4th of July. I think Riverton is very patriotic. And even with it being over the 4th, I feel like a lot of other cities come and enjoy our fireworks. Yeah. And our youth council, they show up and help. We were helping serve the country breakfast, and the youth were there refilling things and helping people out. And they are so service-oriented. And so a couple of years ago, I was doing the math of, man, these kids are contributing thousands of hours to our city. And if we were having to pay city staff to do that, it would really add up fast. And so we were able to start a scholarship program that they can earn $500 based on the number of hours that they volunteered in the last several years. And so I think that helps encourage them to keep, volunteering. And I would love to make it so that more youth could take advantage, because I could think of a lot worse things that our youth could be doing than volunteering for the city.
That's really neat, though, to be able to create a scholarship program for them.
Yeah, they help with our Christmas, our Easter egg hunts. We have a fall Halloween activity, and we've got great youth in Riverton, and it's such a young, vibrant, growing city.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Because we have a vibrant youth council. They don't get anything at all. And it would be nice to be able to give them something or, just to know that they work towards something.
Right.
And they show up and they help with our Easter egg hunt and our parades and events and stuff. That's really neat.
Yeah.
And I love that you're so passionate about kids and just getting them involved and giving them opportunities.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about them being our future. Literally, we know that's true.
Yeah.
And it's neat to be able to see them be inspired and as they see city leaders who are willing to step up. And I think it's awesome. In addition, that you're a woman. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think we need women to be able to say, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
It's really incredible to be able to see people embrace their gifts. So, Tawnie, in terms of, I know you've been on council for 8 years.
Yes.
And you bring financial background experience, you bring the mom experience, you bring leadership. I'm excited about what you're wanting to accomplish. How are you getting your message out?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Thanks for asking. I actually have a meet and greet tomorrow, and it's kind of on our western side of town. We have a little kind of finger that a lot of people don't realize it's part of Harriman. It's part of Riverton because it's so close to Harriman.
Okay.
Yes, and so I wanted to have this meet and greet out there. And we actually used to live. It's been 20 years ago, but we lived out in that area, and so I have a lot of friends in that area. And then I have one in about a week and a half because the primary ballots actually come out on Tuesday, the 22nd.
So soon.
Yeah, I know. It comes up. And so then I have one on the east side. In addition, and it's interesting, for my kickoff, I'm very service-oriented. We actually, I've taken each of my kids on humanitarian trips.
Yes.
My husband and I have had foster kids. We had a couple boys stay with us from Ghana.
Really?
We had
I didn't know that.
Yeah. She stayed with us for 2 years. She was from Afghanistan and was here legally as a refugee.
That's neat.
And right now we have a girl from Haiti. and it's through Catholic Community Services in Salt Lake. But I love each of their personalities, and to see them adapt and learn English and go to school and improve themselves and be able to get jobs, and then to kind of launch them into adulthood, especially when they've had really traumatic backgrounds and histories. But so for my kickoff event, I decided to partner with Hunger Fight, and we were able to assemble over 20,000 meals that we gave to the Jordan School District.
Really?
They got about 10,000 of them for their food pantries in the schools. And then we gave some to the Riverton Food Pantry, the Harriman Food Pantry, and then a homeless shelter in Salt Lake.
Tawnie, that's
So
outstanding. 20,000
amazing.
meals?
Yes.
How many people did you have
we had
helping
over
you?
100 people that showed up to my campaign kickoff.
That's incredible.
And then even this Saturday, we were able to partner with a school district, and we're assembling education kits that will go in the literacy packets that they'll be sending home with the kids.
Wow.
And so, it's a fun little game that they have with dice and beans, and helps them counting and things like that.
That is so neat.
Yeah, I really enjoy serving, and yeah.
Who inspired this desire to serve and help and just love people?
Yeah. My mom
really
has always been just so kind-hearted. And I remember at Thanksgiving, we would always have different people at the table. And my dad worked at the Space Dynamics Lab at Utah State, and they would have people that would travel in, oftentimes from other countries. And so if there was ever anybody that he knew that didn't have a place to go for Thanksgiving or Christmas, they would be invited to our home. And I remember trying a lot of unique dishes and different things. And so I think that love of travel and culture has really, Plus, a few years ago, my kids, when they were younger, one time they said, "Mom, our friends, they have the 12 days of Christmas, and they get to open a little gift every day leading up to it."
What a great idea.
I know. They thought it was fantastic. And so I decided to do the 12 days of service. And so that year, our family, we were bell ringers. We helped at the food pantry. We went to a women's shelter and tried to just really, because I realized, kids, you're getting plenty. We really need to focus, and that's what Christmas is about. And so that's kind of what kicked it off, was doing
really
that 12
neat.
days of service.
Well, so the fostering children, or not necessarily fostering, but sponsoring.
Yeah, it is foster.
And host, is it foster? Okay, really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many years have you done that? That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you start when your kids were little, or?
We had 2 younger girls when our kids were younger. But in the last few years, we had a couple boys from Ghana, and now they're both at UVU going to school. And they were family friends, and it was awesome because I was able to go stay with their family in Ghana with my son and serve at an orphanage over there and visit some sites and go to the temple with them. And it was a fantastic experience. Yes. And then I was a family mentor through Catholic Community Services for an Afghan family. And it was kind of interesting. They had 5 sons when they came, and they actually had their 6th son while they were here. And the mom had the other kids at home, but the 6th one she had up at the University of Utah Hospital, and it was a very different experience than her mom delivering her kids. I bet. Yeah. But the dad had been shot through both of his kneecaps by the Taliban because he had worked for the U.S. military and had been a cook for them. And so their family came over here because they were being targeted. And it was a really awesome, interesting experience, just trying to, I remember teaching him how to drive and to get his license. And I was saying, red means stop, green means go. I said, "You have these in Afghanistan?" And he said, "No." And he did we blow whistles and cars go this way and this way, Yeah. And when his wife had just had the baby, they were home a lot. And so I decided, I'm going to invite your older boys to come and go swimming. And so I picked them up, and the dad ended up coming too. So I was a little bit surprised. But we went to the pool, and it was so interesting to see the pool from his perspective because in their culture, they're very modest, the wife down to her wrist, have her hair covered. And for the dad to walk in the pool and see
people
bikinis, there was a couple making out, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh," because public affection isn't, in a lot of other countries as accepted. And it was so fascinating to see it through their eyes. But then also the boys just had a blast blessed. And we're going down those slides. And I think they were just thinking, there's nothing like this at home for kids and for fun and for families to get together. And so when that family moved to Nebraska to be close to some of their other family, Catholic Community Services said, we know how well you worked with the kids. Would you ever be willing? Because at the time there were 800 teenagers in the system that were looking for placements. And we were a little bit hesitant because we had teenagers as well. Yeah. But we did get a girl from Afghanistan, and it's been amazing to see, her improve her English, and now she's moved on, and we still try and help support her. And now we have a girl from Haiti, and she's been a blessing to our life, and our kids love her, and she still doesn't speak a lot, but we just went down to Lake Powell, and she thought, wow, this is so beautiful and amazing, and going out on the boat and jet skis, and she had a blast. So,
Tawnie, these experiences that you've shared touched my heart. My husband was sponsored. He had to flee his country in Vietnam, and he was almost 12 by a family, and it was just such a harshly different reality, a grateful, beautiful reality, really, comparing Vietnam, where he had lived literally with a dirt floor, coming to America. The family that sponsored him didn't have a lot of money, but they had a motorhome. And so Lee said he got in this house on wheels, and he couldn't believe it. That things like that existed. It's so life-changing to have opportunities. So
it really is. And the experience totally blesses our family.
You for doing that. And it's so neat for your kids to see. My parents, when we were younger, so I'm adopted also, and I have a sister adopted from Korea. And so my parents, they had some foreign exchange students that lived with us when we were younger. And it was really neat. But, it's just, I just think it's special people that are willing to really step up and do that. So hats off to you guys for doing that. That's neat. And the generational impact that you have on people. One person. Having an opportunity to be educated and learn. It's just so life-changing for generations.
It really is.
So it's neat.
And it is hard. I mean, sometimes there's post-traumatic stress and, some of those issues, but, our own kids have had hard times, and, we've learned a lot through, about mental health. And we always have to be CPR certified and go through a lot of training in the state to be foster parents.
I didn't know that.
And so, but it's definitely rewarding. And especially to see the smile on their face, or to, see the hugs, or, my foster daughter was just showing me her grades the other day in her ESL classes that she takes at Salt Lake Community College. And she was so proud at how well she's doing. And she got in the car after I picked her up the other day, and she said, "Mom, can you help me get my driver's license?"
Really?
And I think that was the longest sentence she had said to me. And I knew that she had been probably practicing it in her class. And so that's what we're working on right now, is trying to help
her go through that process. So will she stay with you for a while?
They are with the program through Catholic Community Services until they're age 21.
Okay.
But the two girls we've got, they've both been 18. And then they usually like them to move out around the age 20 so that Catholic Community Services can help them find housing. They still get the counseling and some assistance so that they can adjust to being on their own, at least for a year before they're out of that program.
Oh my gosh, you do it all. You're honestly so impressive and just so genuine.
Oh, thank you.
And I love talking to good people. And you just are so well respected and loved, and I appreciate you doing what you've done. I've been able to see you as a leader and interact with you, and I'm excited for your run.
Yes, thank you so much.
And so excited to see you win. It's going to be great. and just all of the great knowledge and experience that you'll continue to bring to Riverton will be huge for our state, because I think one other thing people maybe don't realize is how we all really do work together. You might be a county over, but we still get to coordinate and collaborate. And that's why it's so important to serve on different boards and to have the exposure to different organizations, because then we know people and have those relationships established. And that's huge.
Yeah. It is. It's so true. Forward. We all need to kind of stick together and work together, and those partnerships with surrounding cities and with the county and things like that are so important. I just met with the county mayor yesterday at our Riverton library, and even though we have different political leanings, it's so great to work across the aisle and to get to know the other partners and say, these are some of the things that are happening in Riverton, the great things. These are some of the things that I'm hearing from residents. And we have a couple projects going on with the county. They're looking at updating our golf course.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so it will, I think the clubhouse being updated would be fantastic.
Is it owned by the county?
It is.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And so they put out a request and are getting bids and ideas for how to update that facility. And so, and I've been hearing from a lot of residents, we really want, a rec center. The one in Harriman's getting so busy. The population growth is really, and my background in finance, when I first graduated with my master's, I was the director of a family life center up in Logan, and they did housing and financial counseling. And so it was a HUD-approved counseling center. Some of our clients were court-ordered to be there. We also did homebuyer education or foreclosure counseling, or if people were trying to buy, their first home. And then also people that were going through bankruptcy. And so that was a wonderful experience. And then I was able to manage apartments. Well, my husband was in law school, and now we have rentals of our own that I continue to manage.
Really?
And then I've also been adjunct faculty, both at Utah State and at Chemeketa Community College up in Oregon.
That's really
neat. Yeah, it's been a great experience. And then I was also a financial advisor. And so I've been able to see people on more of the remedial side that are struggling with their finances or trying to get out of debt to be able to buy a home. But then also some of those clients that had over 10 million assets under management and, all across the country that we were meeting with. And so I've been able to work and help people on both ends.
That's really neat. And the experience and knowledge that you've gained through those varied experiences is probably incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And it's also amazing how, you can apply some of those personal finance strategies to a city.
For sure. And it's true. It's, we have council members that do compare their personal budget to city budget. And numbers are a little bit bigger, add a couple zeros. But it's the same concept. We don't want to live above our means.
Yeah.
We don't want to spend money we don't have.
Yeah.
We want to be fiscally responsible with it and accountable for it.
Yeah.
And so those are the fundamental principles that we need, versus just, write a check.
Yeah. It's so true.
It's great. Well, I know that Riverton is just an outstanding city, and I know it's due to wonderful people like you.
Thank you.
And so thank you for everything that you're doing. And where can people find you, information about you?
Yes, my website is votemccay.com.
Okay.
And like I said, I've got that meet and greet this Saturday at 11 at the Monarch Meadows Park. And so and I'm happy to meet with anybody and I love to walk. And so if anybody wants to join me on one of those canal trails and walk and talk and get to know people, I think that, raising 6 kids, I feel like we know so many people, they were a volleyball mom or a softball or baseball or, wrestling.
Right.
And it's been a blessing. We have great people in Riverton.
Are people pretty involved in Riverton?
Yeah.
Do they come to your city council meetings? And
yes, especially if we invite the youth.
For sure.
And in Riverton, it's awesome. We, once a month, will acknowledge from a middle school and an elementary, and then once a year from the high school, a male and female student, and then also a teacher that the principal puts forward the names that have contributed to their school or has made a lot of improvement. And so we love, and that's one of my favorite parts, is just to bring them in to read this, short paragraph about how they've been able to contribute. And especially our teachers, I think it's so important to recognize the hard workers, and we also recognize police officers and firefighters. And it's so great for their families to come in and to make sure that they know how much we appreciate all that they do for our city.
That is outstanding. I love that you recognize the kids monthly.
Yeah.
And the teachers. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Gosh, it just, I love hearing how involved you are at the community level, within the schools, within service. You have it all covered.
Thank you. I do enjoy it.
You're outstanding. Well, thank you, Tawnie.
Thank you so much for having me, Mayor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. To all my podcast listeners, thank you for listening. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. If you like what you've heard today, please share it with a friend. I'm on YouTube and Instagram. Please leave comments and please leave suggestions for future guests. And most importantly, subscribe. Thank you.